You know his name's not Jesus, right?
Well, you know you're not speaking first century CE Galilean Aramaic, right?
If you go back to where Jesus was walking the earth and you walked around and said, "Where's Jesus?" What the fuck you talking about?
Well, they also wouldn't know what the word "where's" means.
If you start looking deep into the scriptures, man, one of them says, "My children will know my name."
There is no passage in the Bible that says my children will know my name.
Well, his name ain't Jesus. No, the scripture says, "Seek and ye shall find." Listening to a pastor tell you something isn't seeking.
Well, neither is watching a video where a creator blithely spouts dogmatism about how important it is to correctly pronounce a name that creator does not know how to correctly pronounce.
Why am I so big on the name?
Because of the attention.
Well, because if you look at certain scripture, it says, "Give praise to my name, give glory to my name." What's his name?
Well, that depends upon the time period we're looking at, what region we're talking about, what dialect we're looking at, what text we're looking at. Some of them just use Yod-He, some of them use Yod-He-Vav, some of them use Yod-He-Vav-He. All of them worked, but really name here is functioning as an index for or a vehicle for the agency and presence of the deity themselves. It is metonymic in those references to giving praise to and glory to the name. And I published a book called Adonai's Divine Images where I talk about how the name can function as an independent vehicle for divine agency.
This is Jesus. That's not his name, because his name was given to us over 7,000 times.
Under 7,000 times. 6,828 times, give or take a handful.
But then at some point in time, way back in about 383 AD, they translated it and they were told not to use the name anymore.
So that never happened. Christians from the very beginning adopted from Judaism the practice of using Kyrios, Lord, as a substitute for the divine name. And that practice was developed within Judaism probably a century, maybe two, before Jesus was even born. Now, 383 is when Jerome started translating the Vulgate, but there was no issue with the divine name there. Jerome just used the Latin word for Lord in that translation.
One of the 10 commandments is, "Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain." Now, what does the word vain mean?
Well, our concern is not what vain means. Our concern is what shav means, because the word is not vain. The word is shav. And shav can refer to using words as part of a magic spell. It can refer to using words for wicked or evil purposes. And it can refer to using words in ways that end up being worthless or inconsequential.
It means to make meaningless or useless. How much more useless can a name be if you just stopped using it? You're making it as useless as it can be by not using his name. And he says, don't take the Lord's name in vain, which most people think says, don't say God. God ain't his name. That's a title. Secondly, that's not what it means. It says don't make God meaningless and useless. But that's not actually what the thing said. He basically said, don't make my name meaningless. That was his commandment.
No, the commandment is lo tisa et Shem Adonai. And tisa comes from nasa, which means to lift, bear, or carry. So the commandment is specifically not to deploy the name in a certain way. And most likely it originally referred to not using the name in the swearing of oaths that you did not intend to keep or that were aimed at evil or wicked or inconsequential purposes.
And then we are all doing it when we say Jesus. We're all doing it when we say God. Why? Because that's not his name. Imagine going up to the pearly gates, because I could have just saved all your lives. And there's a big dude up there like this. He's standing there all big and buff as shit. And he goes, "What's up?"
Ah, yes, heaven well known for its toxic masculinity and its bouncers.
You say, "What's up?" They say, "Who you here to see?" You say, "Jesus," and he goes, "I don't know who you're talking about."
But they are speaking English.
You ever read the scripture where he says, "Go away, you do not know me"? Because if you knew me, you'd know my name.
No, I'm not familiar with that scripture.
I'm going to walk up, they're going to be like, "Who are you here to see?" And I'm going to say, "I'm here to see Yahshua."
As I pointed out in a previous video, that's just taking the modern English pronunciation Joshua and changing out a J for a Y, which is also laughably wrong.
My man Joshua is supposed to meet me here so I can go meet Yahuwah
Also laughably wrong.
or Yahweh.
So that's better.
And if I'm wrong, we're all fucked.
Probably not.